at you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway. It's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal. This is somewhere around episode 351. I, of course, am Sean, and man, I gotta admit, I got back into watching some anime this weekend because Corey recommended that I watch Dan to Dan on Netflix because he said it'd be right up my alley. Have you heard of this show, Preston?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was
At
trying to
least.
get my mouse to hover over the unmute button, and it wasn't quite
Oh,
getting there. It was like slowly but
gotcha.
surely.
Okay.
No, but you know what? I feel bad because Corey actually suggested a anime for me to watch with my kiddo, and
hmm
we were drinking that night,
Was it Dan to Dan?
and I don't quite remember what it was.
Huh.
Something about a
Well,
person who believes in ghosts, but the other person believes in aliens, and they're
that's Dan to Dan. Yeah, that's what I've been watching, dude.
oh, okay.
I think that both your kids would really love that show. I'm not sure where Jeffrey sits on anime. Shayla has zero interest in watching it.
That's a big no, dog.
Um, yeah, it's fun, dude. It's really fun. It's pretty funny, and it's actually pretty damn wild from what I was thinking it was going to be. It's right up our alley in the fact that it's paranormal, and it has a lot to do with yokai folklore. And are we Western or Eastern? We're Western, right?
No, we're central. I mean, culture wise,
Well, yeah, culture-wise, not
culture
time
wise,
zone.
we're Western. Yeah.
Okay, so it has a lot to do with Eastern yokai folklore and the Western paranormal as well. Like episode 2, without spoiling much, it has to do with the Flatwoods monster, but they present the creature in a Japanese yokai-esque way. It was really cool, man, and I'm having a lot of fun with it on episode 5. But I think there's some characters from that show that we're gonna have to pull for our next yokai episode. Is what I'm
Nice.
getting at in this roundabout way.
Yeah. Gotta
Cool.
go all the way around the bush, not halfway around the bush.
Well, with me as always is Preston. Man, how you been?
What's up, all you kill ghosts and goblins, you crocodines and crocodingos and skeletor, skeletons, witchers and witches, bugbears and owlbears, and fucking nerds and non-nerds and anime nerds? I'm doing all right. Doing pretty good. Making moonshine. White trash moonshine, because you can't make real moonshine.
Speaking of the West Virginia hills, Preston is now a shiner.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
you went from Shriner to Shiner. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just change some syllables. It's all good.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Hey, I like it, dude. It's good to have a hobby. Well, folks, we're back again on this happy little lazy Sunday, and we're going to gather up some more weird news from the last month and drop it right into your ear holes. On this episode, in no particular order, we've got murderous AI chatbots, drug-addled sea life, and why you shouldn't use ChatGPT to win your court cases. I just realized in my description I sent you, it says drug adult, comma, sea life. That should say drug addled, but I was using talk to text and didn't double check my work.
It's too
But
late
that's okay
now.
because that's going to kind of fall into some of our stories here in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, first up, guys, move over Fukushima. There's another nuclear disaster on the horizon. The humble jellyfish is truly one of the weirdest and most fascinating creatures of the sea. They're brainless, they can be gigantic, they can murder you, and they finally found a way to crack the code to immortality. That's right, some say jellyfish just don't die. And apparently they also learned how to attack and shut down nuclear power plants. The Gravelines nuclear plant in France recently went through an emergency shutdown mode. Now, the Gravelines nuclear plant is located on France's northern coast, roughly halfway between the cities of Calais and Dunkirk. It's no small installation either, with 6 reactors, each pulling 900 megawatts. Gravelines has a total power output of 5.4 gigawatts In more practical terms, it powers around 5 million homes, providing roughly 6% of France's entire electricity demand. It's a big one. Well, this summer, back on August 10th, two of the plant's reactors had already been shut down for routine maintenance, so the plant was already operating on reduced capacity when it was suddenly forced into emergency shutdown mode. The reactor cooling systems became inoperable due to an outside disturbance, and the entire plant had to be taken offline. Why was this, Preston? Was it terrorists? Was it ne'er-do-well environmental tree huggers? Was it foreign adversaries? No, it was a huge swarm of invasive jellyfish that had gotten sucked into the plant's cooling water intake pipe, and they completely clogged the intake's debris filter and stopped the flow of cool water. Now, fortunately, the plant's safety system functioned exactly as they should, and as soon as the flow sensor in the control coolant pipe noticed the clog, it tripped the emergency failsafe, and the reactor shut down. But strangely enough, this is far from the first time that jellyfish have disrupted nuclear power plant operations, and in fact, it happens constantly, and now experts believe it'll only get worse as the warming seas continue to warm. Ooh, fuck, man. First you got Mothman, then you got Fukushima, and now you got jellyfish.
Man, has anybody ever like put on their tinfoil hat and thought about a second, like if you look at all the like animals in the animal kingdom, like jellyfish really don't think, right? They're very, very rudimentary, instinctive. Like they're just a bunch of like they don't even really have like all the normal body parts that other, animals have. So could you not? Because you said no, not terrorist attack, but think about this for a second. If you as an outside government, if you really wanted to fuck with people, think about this. All you'd have to do is just tweak the electrical pulses, like the wiring of the jellyfish, and then boom, like whatever it is about. I wasn't listening to what you said. Why the jellyfish swarm, the nuclear power plant got in there?
They just were migrating due to warmer waters. They're just doing what jellyfish do and just kind of, as a mass, just kind of pulsating through the ocean.
Yeah, but you think you could program those things like dumb robots and.
What you're saying is you want to weaponize the man-o-war jellyfish?
Yeah. Also,
make the man-o-war a weapon of mass destruction.
Speaking of AI, my son sent me a reel on proper terms to call AI now. So when you get ready,
Okay.
You
slang term
for like
okay, cool.
we as a society we're getting a little better, people. We're taking that hate from humans and we're moving it on to robots.
Yeah, because why stop at humans? Let prejudice rear its ugly head.
Yeah.
All right, Preston, up next in aquatic news. I ain't asking for much, just an 8-ball and 2 pounds of shrimp. When two British universities embarked on a study to analyze the presence of micropollutants in aquatic wildlife, they found something they surely didn't expect. Researchers from King's College London and the University of Suffolk found illicit drugs like ketamine and cocaine in the inhabitants of Britain's waterways. Though the study's focus didn't include both illicit drugs and medicines in its quest to assess how consumer products are negatively affected, including rivers, freshwater, and natural environment, sea life, finding such drugs was a shock. The study published in the journal Environmental International revealed just how polluted these waterways are, to the point that every single sample of freshwater shrimp contained trace amounts of cocaine. Such regular occurrences of illicit drugs in wildlife was surprising. We might expect to see these in urban areas such as London, but not in smaller and more rural catchments. To begin the study, the team collected samples from 5 catchment areas and 15 various sites across Suffolk County, or Suffolk, I've probably mispronounced that. Rivers used as sample sites included the Aldi, the Box, the Deben, the Gipping, and the Waveney. Though cocaine was the only drug found in all collected samples, the presence of ketamine, Valium, Xanax, pesticides, and other pharmaceuticals were found to be contained in widespread test samples. The observed levels of these components were fortunately mere trace amounts. The study's lead author, Thomas Miller, however, remained adamant that there's no cause for celebration. Although the concentrations were low, we were able to identify compounds that might be of concern to the environment, crucially, which might pose a risk to wildlife. Big problems can have small beginnings, after all. A person may casually pour some spilled detergent down a drain and think nothing of it. But consumer products, even those prohibited in the United Kingdom, such as these, are increasingly finding their way into water. The presence of pesticides, which have all been banned in the UK, also possess particular challenges, as the source of these remain unclear. University of Suffolk professor Nick Berry is currently pondering just how grave of an issue this really is. The motivation to expand on this research and why the public's attention has grown so focused on issues like these, however, are quite clear to him. Whether it's the presence of cocaine in aquatic animals or more widespread occurrences in the UK abroad awaits further research.
What about what about high doses of radiation found in shrimp at a number one retailer? Like, whoa, we got to pull that from the shelf. How'd the radiation get there?
Yeah, that's kind of scary too, man, for sure. So yeah, it's like pick your poison. Literally, do you want to have radioactive shrimp in the U.S. or do you want to have cocaine-addled shrimp in the UK? Buddy?
I'm going to go with number 2 because number two sounds like it could be some fun.
Uncle Baby Billy Shrimp Boil, man.
Yeah.
Well, keeping the theme of bad food, let's move over to Dr. Death AI. There's so much who knows what in the food we eat, like we just spoke about, cocaine, pesticides, whatever. Frankly, it's not always a bad idea to cut back on bad stuff and eat a healthier diet. That being said, when altering your eating habits, you should seek out advice from professionals to ensure the new diet you're choosing is actually a healthy one. And in this case, it shows that AI is still not a professional. A man recently went to a hospital after becoming concerned that his neighbor had poisoned him. However, his behavior was so erratic in the hospital that staff actually decided to hold him on an involuntary psychiatric basis. See, he'd recently noticed a bunch of weird new health issues, including increased acne, insomnia, trouble controlling his muscles, and excessive thirst. Speaking with the doctors at the hospital, he suspected that maybe his neighbor was actually poisoning him. That was a strange accusation to make, especially as though the man didn't really offer any explanations on how or why he thought the neighbor would be doing such poisoning him. But something was obviously wrong, so the man was asked to stay at the hospital for testing and treatment. But he kept saying how incredibly thirsty he was, and he refused to drink any water offered to him, as he was reportedly paranoid about its contents. Over the next 24 hours, his paranoia only increased, and he began experiencing auditory and visual hallucinations. Finally, he attempted to escape the hospital due to some imaginary threat. At this point, the doctor determined they couldn't allow the man to leave the hospital because he might hurt himself or others, or God knows, maybe try. So they admitted him for psychiatric observation. After the man was given intravenous fluid and electrolytes, he came back to his senses enough to tell the doctors a little bit more about himself. And it turns out he was excessively preoccupied with his own health and his diet. See, he had an attempt that he made to be healthier, and he had stated that he started eating extremely restrictive vegan diet. However, his eating habits weren't very well planned, as doctors found out that he lacked several vital nutrients, including folate and vitamin C and B12. But the guy also told him that he had read about sodium chloride, aka common table salt, and he wanted to replace the salt in his diet, but had found no literature on what he could use instead. So he did what everybody, including stay-at-home moms, college kids, and grade schoolers do. He turned to ChatGPT. And the AI suggested that sodium chloride could, in other contexts, be replaced with sodium bromide. So he had been eating the stuff for 3 months. But it turns out, folks, that sodium bromide is a toxic compound that was also the cause of many cases of mental illness back in the 19th century. Now, your diet isn't something where you can just replace salt with sodium bromide. That's because the stuff is toxic, and ingesting it will lead to a condition known as bromism. The condition is very common from the 19th century when sodium bromide was used as a cure-all wonder medicine for everything from headaches to indigestion. Now, the stuff does have genuine medical uses, such as treating epilepsy, but it's used in very small, controlled doses. Excessive sodium bromide intake will cause the compound to build up in the body, resulting in a wonderful, disgusting blend of symptoms, including skin problems, aka acne, mixed up sleep schedules, insomnia, anxiety, paranoia, and hallucinations. After some treatments, the man became lucid enough that he could tell doctors what was going on. He was simply worried about consuming excess salt, and he wanted to swap it out with something in his diet instead. Indeed, further tests showed the bromine levels in the man's blood were off the charts. Luckily, he got better with treatment and was released from the hospital. Here's hoping he'll talk to real doctors in the future instead of AI.
Yeah, stupid fucking clankers. Jesus. Fucking wire munchers.
Wire muncher and clanker is the new slang term against AI and robots.
And this is what I like, though, because maybe you want to be like a little, like, you know, ghetto with it, and you can go clanka. Clanka. So
I like it.
It goes
man.
both. It goes both ways. And to our future robotic overlords, I love you. I never use any derogatory terms towards you.
So tell me a little bit, man. Like, we've used AI as far as, you know, in our podcast. Like, I still prefer good old fashioned reading and typing up my notes, but you may have used some AI, ChatGPT, to tidy up some notes, right?
Yeah, like so, like with, you know, like with me, I think just because, you know, I think our work schedule and then, you know, everything else that we do, like it's trying to find like a good workflow to it. And so like I will condense the notes down in my own way and then like run that through ChatGPT, but tell it like make it more mysterious. And then
and it does.
It does. And then I think where ChatGPT is very repetitive, like any AI program is like, so you say like, hey, condense this down further or summarize this even more, stick to the points, but do like a mysterious overtone or like, you know, unsolved mysteries vibe. And it'll be like, it was in the middle of the night and it was a dark, creepy road and it was ominous. And then it like four paragraphs later, it's like, ooh, it was ominous again. And then like it uses the same phrases and words over and over and over again. So it's like, I then have to go back, and then once it does its thing, like take that and be like, okay, let me read this. All right, let me take out this because this is fucking repetitive. So it does sometimes. I think it does quicken the process a little bit because if I'm like taking notes, sometimes I skip over like the important details. It's like something I wouldn't think that's important. And then ChatGPT catches it, but it's still, I think it has like the writing capabilities of like a fourth grader because it's like, can you not go,
it's a seventh grade.
Can you not go get a thesaurus and look at a better word than that? Like, fuck, say.
Yeah. I like to think of it as like a seventh grader in honors English who got a word of the day calendar and it just wants to use the same adjective over like every 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too because like some of these stories we know really well and sometimes we don't, but like we've caught ChatGPT making errors with like dates, and certain facts, you know, because I think it's just kind of condensing it, like you said. So okay, all that to say,
I think it's I think if you're using it, if I think where people get in trouble is they type in a generic statement into ChatGPT, like, you know, tell me about, you know, something during World War II, whatever it is. Okay. And then it is basically scouring the internet and whatever the top 10, top 8 websites that have that information, it's pulling that and giving you the abridged version. And so if 2 or 3 of those websites both have the wrong information, it's not smart enough to know, like it doesn't have anything else to back it up to say like, hey, numbnuts, it was, you know, October 3rd, 1942, you know, not September 27th, 1942. Right. Whereas if you're typing in the information, like everything that you want it to know, and then say, hey, fucking give me the cliff notes of this paragraph. Like, I want to know what the main thing of this paragraph, and tidy it up for me. Then it can go back in and do that very effectively. But if you're just like, hey, tell me what happened on, you know, with President Kennedy and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just going to pull whatever has the most hits. And if it's some like bullshit article website, then that's the information that it's feeding you. Doesn't mean that information is correct. It's just the information that's been viewed the most. So then ChatGPT thinks it's the most relevant, and that's the downside of it, because it's not a thinking entity yet. It's just a fucking program.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to argue a little bit, because some of these programs are designed to kind of learn as they go, right? And like, I think that it might not be doing this sentiently, like it's doing it on purpose, but I think sometimes it's just whipping out numbers because it's like, you know, filler text. Yeah. So I think sometimes like it's not even making mistakes based off the top 10 results. I think it's literally just putting shit out there.
Yeah. Now the art programs are learning as it goes, because it's like when you're typing in a prompt, like I want this image, I want it to look like X, Y, and Z. And then based off the results, you say what you like and like what you're keeping. And so like if you download 2 of those images, it stores that information that was closer to what you wanted.
That was a success, yeah.
And then you do it again, and then it's paying attention to what you're saving so that it gets more relevant every single time. Whereas if you're telling it to write me a science paper for Mrs. Smith's 3rd hour science class, it's just all bullshit.
Yeah. I think it comes in handy. I used it for the very first time the other day because I was talking to our buddy Joe, and he was talking about this horror movie that he saw from the 80s. And he's like, man, all I remember is a chick that had like gills in her neck, and there was a monster in the basement, and it took place at like an old farmhouse. And I was like, dude, I'm drawing some blank. Can't even think what that is. And so I said, well, screw it. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a doctor, and they will sometimes go to ChatGPT, not for diagnosis, but for just like legal advice. Like, hey, maybe a patient came in and something happened. And so like, what should I do? And it'll give them advice on like, hey, again, pull from the top 10 sources. Here's what other people have done. And so I jumped into ChatGPT and I typed in 80s horror film with a girl with gills in her neck, a scientist who may be conducting experiments, and a monster in the basement that all takes place at a farmhouse. And it came back with the movie called Kindred, I think from 1987. And so I sent the IMDb page to Joe, and he's like, oh, holy shit, this is the movie. So like, it's helpful. I think these things have
good job, Wire Muncher.
Like,
you saved the day for
nice job, Clanker. And I think it has its uses, like even autocorrect and stuff like that. That's AI in and of itself. But all this to come back around and say, moving on to our next story. A senior lawyer in Australia has apologized to a judge for filling submissions in a murder case that included fake quotes and non-existent case judgments generated by artificial intelligence. The blunder in the Supreme Court of Victoria State is another in a litany of mishaps that AI has caused in justice systems around the world. So, Preston, what happened? Well, apparently, old ChatGPT made up a ton of fake information when it gave a lawyer its advice. The fake submissions included fabricated quotes from a speech to the state legislature, non-existent case citations purportedly from the Supreme Court. The errors that were discovered by Elliott's associates couldn't find the cases and requested the defense lawyer provide copies. So he's coming to the table with ChatGPT's, data, and ChatGPT's, I just fucking made some shit up, man. And then, of course, the other lawyers are like, hey, give me the citations. You didn't cite your sources, pal. The lawyer admitted the citations do not exist, and the submissions contained fictitious quotes. The lawyer explained they checked that the initial citations were accurate earlier and wrongingly assumed the rest would be correct as well. Submissions were also sent to the prosecutor, Daniel Porcedo, who didn't check the accuracy either. Now, you might ask yourself, why in God's green earth are we allowing AI to give us legal advice in legal court cases? Well, apparently, it's okay to do. The judge noted that the Supreme Court released guidelines last year for how lawyers are to use AI. In a comparable case in the United States back in 2023, a federal judge imposed $5,000 fines on 2 lawyers and a law firm after ChatGPT was blamed for their submission of fictitious legal research in an aviation injury claim. British High Court Justice Victoria Sharp warned that in June, providing false material egregious cases preventing the courses of justice, which carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. It's not acceptable for artificial intelligence to be used unless the product of that use is independently and thoroughly verified. Defense lawyer Rishi Nathwani, who holds the prestigious legal title of King's Counsel, took full responsibility for the filing of incorrect information in the submission in a case of a teenager charged with murder. According to court documents seen by the Associated Press, "We're deeply sorry and embarrassed for what occurred," said Nathwani. The AI-generated errors caused a 24-hour delay in resolving a case that Elliott had hoped to conclude on Wednesday. Elliott ruled on Thursday that Nathwani's client, who cannot be identified due to being a minor, was not guilty of murder because mental impairment. At the risk of understatement, the manner in which these events have unfolded is quite unsatisfactory. So, I've heard of stories of doctors now not knowing how to diagnose or not knowing what to diagnose. So sometimes maybe, and again, this is kind of here, maybe some of these doctors that you call on like Doctor on Demand, like they're just sitting there, you're not in front of them, so they're just typing in your symptoms. And then, boop, okay, it sounds to me like he got a sore throat due to A, B, and C. And, I suggest using this. So it's like we're using this as a crutch, becoming very lazy. And then in the case of the guy that had the bromide poisoning, like how many people went from WebMD? Remember WebMD and how much of a problem that was for people playing, Dr. Google? And now you can just go to ChatGPT and say, oh, yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. People are not going to go to the doctor now because this ChatGPT is just diagnosing everything. Probably got about a 50-50 or maybe even a 75-25 success rate. So I don't really know what's. I do actually. People are just fucking lazy. But like, this is going to be a huge problem if we're having lawyers and T.
Yeah.
Scary shit, man.
But also, is this like tinfoil hat time? Is this kind of the way, like, let's say, like, Elon Musk and companies like that, because he's got that, what's that fucking brain thing that...
Grok?
Yeah, well...
Grok or whatever on X, on Twitter?
That, but he's also got that, he's developing that that microchip to install in people's brains.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
And so... What if we are further along with AI than the mass of people realize, and that we do have a functional, smart AI, but like these are the early stages of getting people comfortable with the fact of using it. Like they know it's like, bullshit, like it doesn't really work, like it's not giving you factual stuff. But the more the mass people get comfortable using it, then when they are able to release like the final, like, Skynet, that people are like, yeah, man, it's fucking common practice now. Like, whatever. What's up? What's up, you fucking clanker? Let's go. Come on, get in the car. Let's go.
Well,
Like we have to introduce it in stages because we got to get like that's the way it's going. Like that's the way that the companies are running the world, so to speak. Like that's like what they want to happen. Like I was talking with the kids the other day about like if you think about Christmas, like honestly, the Christmas nowadays, like the way that we celebrate Christmas was just because Coca-Cola wanted to sell more Coke. Like that's all it is. Because prior to that, like Christmas was just like a dinner and there were no presents. But then like Coca-Cola was like, oh fuck. Like summertime, we're making bucks. Wintertime, we ain't selling shit. How do we fix this? Well, we got to get people drinking Coke in winter. What makes drinking Coke in winter cool? Oh, what about Christmas? Well, what about Christmas? It's just dinner. It's just dinner. Like we just get together and have a fucking like turkey. Like who gives a shit? All right, no, hold on. We gotta make a whole thing around it, right? Do you realize that in the fashion industry, like prior to like the 1930s, like women didn't give a fuck about shaving their legs, but the razor company was like, we need to have more sales in razors. How are we going to get that up? Well, they looked at like the European market and women were a little bit more like, I don't like body hair. They're like, how do we get that over here in the United States? So they just fucking got with the fashion industry and said, dude, make skirts shorter. Well, but we got hairy legs. That's great. We'll just start making advertisements about how you got to shave your legs. And then bada bing, bada boom, all of a sudden, both of these industries were just like short skirts, no hair. That's the way to go. And like these two corporations influence society and change American culture. Like we're kind of doing the same thing with AI. Like right now, yeah, it's in its infancy, but they're influencing us to use it and to get comfortable with it so that they can roll it out more in the future and make it part of everyday American society. Like at the end of the day, we're all just fucking cheap. We're all just being controlled at some level by somebody, whatever it is.
I thought you were going to say at the end of the day, we're all just hairy monkeys.
Oh, well, that's true too. We are,
Like, tell me a married couple, who after like the first year or two of being married just simply accepts the fact that like your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, they're just gonna have hairy legs sometimes. Like, when the honeymoon's over, so to speak. Like, I just gotta be realistic about shit, man. Also, I'm gonna commend you on your research there because I was quickly Googling while you're telling that story about shaving legs, and yeah, it looks like it predominantly was big in the U.S. right around between World War I and World War II. So yeah, dude, I was gonna give you shit for like, hey, did you chat GPT that shit? But no, baby did his own research.
Yeah, daddy knows this. My wife is always like, she's like, sometimes like you amaze me because you have all of this like useless knowledge like stored in your brain, like facts that people normally wouldn't know you have in there. But then sometimes you can be such an asshole, and I'm like, I don't know, it's just how the world works. It's just like beards, right? Like prior to World War I, like it was common that everybody had beards. Like we didn't shave, but then like as the development of like mustard gas and shit, and they couldn't get the gas mask like fitted properly, and so like then it was kind of like deemed like uncivilized to have facial hair. Like you need to have that face. But I mean, look at us now. We're not in a time of like chemical warfare. We don't need to be wearing a fucking gas mask. So then facial hair is back, baby. How the universe meant us to be.
Big hairy monkeys, bud.
Yeah.
Big hairy monkeys. Well, speaking of the universe, let me finish off this last story here.
Hey,
right?
John said, one, welcome our new AI overlords.
Fuck that. Anti-clunker all the way.
Clanker.
I gotta give a shout out.
Not
Clanker.
clunker.
Oh, clunker.
Unless we start having chunky AI.
Oh, fatty two-ton. Also, big shout out to John and Shayla. John mentioned too that he can't wait to tell us Now, Victor Wyndham Museum in London. Spooky, scary, downright gross. Yeah, so John and Leslie are over in the UK right now. So he's been kind of stockpiling some fun stuff to share with us on the show. So I can't wait. Okay, wrapping things up here in Athens, Georgia. A meteorite that punched a hole in a Georgia homeowner's roof, blazing across the sky in a fiery streak, is said to be older than the Earth itself, according to scientists who examined fragments from the space rock. People in several southern states reported seeing the mysterious fireball in broad daylight on June 26th as it hurtled towards the ground faster than the speed of sound. University of Georgia's planetary geologist Scott Harris said in a press release on Friday that he examined 23 grams, that's 0.8 ounces, of the meteorite fragments recovered from a piece the size of a cherry tomato that struck a man's roof in a bullet-like fashion, leaving a dent in the floor of the home outside Atlanta. Examining the fragments under a microscope, Harris concluded the meteorite 4.56 billion years ago, roughly 20 million years older than the Earth. It belonged to a group of asteroids in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, tied to a breakup of a much larger asteroid about 470 million years ago. Oh boy, and how. So yeah, it's not you just have to worry about AI trying to murder you, assault alternatives, or giving you a wrongful conviction, but the universe itself is still trying to kill you with space bullets.
Yeah, and that, depending on who you want to believe, that asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter was the planet Tiamat, and it got destroyed in a collision and took out half of Mars, and so that's been floating there forever. And the Anunnaki, or the space gods, decided to get the fuck off of Mars and come down to Earth, and they found us, and we're like, what's up?
Man, your Google history must be fucking fascinating, bud, because it's like, when did women start shaving their legs? Yeah. And the next search, what asteroid made up the entire belt between Mars and Jupiter?
Yeah, boy.
How to make moonshine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine's not much different, man. Mine's not much different. Oh, good shit. Well, man, hopefully we can get back next week. We took a little 1 week break because, again, life happens.
Yeah.
But I think I'll bring a full-on topic next time around, man. I'm screenshotting a bunch of weird alien stories and other crap, so
I think we're going to talk about that Kepler K27 Amanuka 1050b asteroid that's flying 10 million miles toward Earth right now, and that scientists say that they got some pictures of it, and goddamn it, it's an alien mothership and it's heading our way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is kind of scary to think about.
Which is really fascinating, because think about this. Like, let's say that you have an advanced civilization that they didn't quite get, like light speed travel. Like their technology, they were trying to work out the problem and they couldn't quite get there yet. So they're like, how do we do this? All right, let's hijack an asteroid, and like inside of it, we'll dig out some caves and some tunnels, and we'll build some infrastructure. We'll have a whole society, and we'll propel that through the universe. And people are going to die or whatever, and you just eject the bodies out into outer space. But this society is going to be a separate society, and they're going to be the interstellar travelers, and that society is going to keep going on. Like that's how we're going to deal with space traveling. Like, you're going to get on a rock, and eventually you're going to get somewhere. You slow her down a little bit. Some of you jump off, and the rest of you keep going. And it's a pretty good solution right there, right? I mean, some people say that's what the moon is. Like, there's ancient cultures that got stories about how the moon wasn't once there, and then all of a sudden, like, but boy, what's that in the night sky? And it's a moon. And maybe fucking alien race was just like, let's hijack this asteroid, let's shape her up a little bit and put her into orbit. And there's a fucking, little fucking Martian city, alien city, buried deep inside the moon. That's why it rang like a bell. That's deep.
That's deep, buddy. That's real deep.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, the moon. I miss good old conspiracy theories like that, dude.
Yeah,
We used to be a proper country, damn it.
I know. Like maybe that's like we should like 4 episodes from now. You know, we talked about bringing Little Sean on to talk about Ouija boards. I think we should get Jordan on because if there's one person who believes in zero conspiracies, it's Jordan. And I think we could do 2 hours of conspiracy theories, and the least between the two of us, we can get them on one.
You think so, man? Okay,
Yeah.
we should do that. You and I each bring one conspiracy theory that we, number one, have to like it. Number two, you don't have to believe it, but you have to believe that there's enough facts for you to go, oh, okay, this is well thought of. Jordan has to bring one as well.
Yeah.
And then we see if we can sway him on any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Start having all our D&D friends on the podcast.
Yeah.
We had Joe before, and shit, Rob started the show, so yeah.
Oh, I remember. Yes, because Joe and his wife, didn't they provide the voices?
Not his wife. It was an old friend of Joe's. This was back before Joe and because I were married.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember we did the Emily Rose. Whatever.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a possession story.
Yeah. Well, Emily Rose is not her actual name, but that's the movie. The Exorcism of Emily Rose was actually based off this German girl, and we had them redo the audio. Like Joe was the German 99 priest, and she did the voice. So.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good time, man. I enjoyed that.
Good old days.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find a way to get the audio back to Spotify. I just gotta sit there, and I don't like the idea of having to upload all the episodes back. But I think that we may have the audio RSS feed after killing off the website. So I don't know. Whatever, we'll find out.
Yeah,
the horrors persist. Yet so do we.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're in the Wichita area, stop by, see our dear friend Leslie and the rest of the gang over at CD Trade Post, Pawnee, and Seneca. Go grab a coffee and a scone down at Paranormal.cafe. Preston, what do you got for Dobbs?
Need a beard, want a beard. Want to grow the best damn beard possible? Are you tired, you stupid clanker, of having the fucking rust-covered facial hair? Well, do yourself a favor. Go over to BigDobbsBeardBomb.com and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. That's right, folks. PXLPARA for 20% off your order. That's huge in savings, big in savings. You can pick yourself up scents like bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, classic, sweet tobacco. What's the new one? Athens, Spartan.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's Spartan. I don't know.
Turned out for a couple years, dude.
Yeah, he sent us that a while back, and look, I like it. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think it's Spartan now that my brains are resetting. So you know what? Do yourself a favor. Go over to BigDobbsBeardBomb.com. Use the promo code. Get yourself some product. Make your facial hair look amazing. Smell amazing. Get it all. Get it at Dobbs. And then, if you're in the Omaha area, fucking look him up. Go get a haircut. Dude, I've seen the videos on Facebook. Wowzer. This guy, he's got a talent. This is what he was made to do. He was made to make your beard look better, and he was made to, fucking clean you up, send you out for a wild Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Or just a lazy Sunday.
Yeah, that's true too.
Hell yeah. All right, well, I'm going to lift up the remainder of this pumpkin spice latte cocktail I made and say cheers to the weather getting cooler out. The autumn air is
upon us.
Slowly cooling things down. Halloween is just around the corner as well. And I'm going to say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us.
And stay spooky. And stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.